Oh my God.
Alrighty, folks. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to KRM and Carmen, which is my name, Carmen Blanche. I am a music producer and indie artist based here in Cape Town, South Africa. And today we are going to have a look at indie artists and how they perform, and we're going to give constructive criticism based on the knowledge that I currently have of music production. Now, I'm definitely by no means an authority on the situation. I have a lot to learn, but this is what it is. It's a learning environment, and we're going to try to learn together. So, let's get to it. So, what I have set up here is I have Discord open with a server called Track Team. Now, Track Team is an interesting server. It's a server where a lot of indie artists come to get feedback and to collaborate with other artists, and that is a great way to learn and to start your music career. So that's what we're going to delve in today. Okay, so let us begin. All right. First, let's have a look. So we're going to go into the channel called Self Promo. Self Promo is a great channel. People post a lot of stuff there. So we're going to start here. Let's see. This looks interesting. El Gringo. So his artist name is Prtnce. Pretensa. I don't know if that's how you say it, but Pretensa. So we're going to have a listen here. Oh, I actually don't have my headset plugged in. Give me a moment. All right. Let's get to it. All right. Boom. Yeah. Okay, so, well, I mean, I haven't even listened to like 2 seconds of this. So this is by no means dunking on the person or just an insult. I'm so bad. But no, so it starts off directly into the mix, into the actual hook of the song, bass and everything. And what I see that a lot of amateur people do, and I consider myself an amateur as well, but what I see a lot of people who are just starting out when they're trying to create especially hip hop beats is they want to push the bass to the max. And in this situation, I don't think that like you can push the bass to the max. There are a lot of songs that do that, and they do it really well. But the problem is that they try to push the bass, but they don't really add limiters, they don't add compression, they don't reduce the dynamics of that, and it really just overpowers every other aspect of the song. And they also this type of bass that you use is very, very important. The thing about bass, right, is it's the most simple thing in your mix, but it's also the most complicated thing to actually mix well. To just slap on an 808 and just push it to the max till it's like 0 dB, that's easy. But to actually go in and EQ your bass to make sure you cut off all the mid ends and also refine the bass to have the right texture and sound and to fill up the entire stereo spectrum, that is difficult. And this guy, he just needs to really practice that skill. And I struggle with that too. I sit for hours on bass because bass is really probably the most important part of your mix. Because if your bass doesn't work well and it starts blending and mixing into the other spaces in your spectrum, it just completely messes the mix up. Either it's overbearing or it's underpowering, lackluster, the wrong tonality. It can just really ruin your mix.
Seen him in person, he just say, oh shit, and I got me a new bitch. Better fuck tryna cut, but I don't wanna do it. But I don't wanna lose her. Her last man a loser.
Another thing is that there isn't a lot of structure in the song. I feel like this person needs maybe a very simple but very effective melody or chord progression that can really ground the song. The song isn't really grounded. He's trying to use the bass as the bass. He's trying to use the bass as the foundation of his song. And really the bass is it's really just the cherry on top. So doing that, yeah, I feel like go back, try to listen to other hip-hop artists, what they do, and try to figure out what exactly is it that makes the song tick. Because usually it can be the bass, yeah. It's the bass that makes the stereo space full, but it doesn't carry the song. Usually it's the melody or the chord progression. So go back to that. Even if it's hip hop, hip hop is still like working on fundamentals of music. Okay, I think we're gonna move on. So this has been PRTNCE Princeton, and the song is called Oceans, featuring RDSM. I'll link all of that into the description. So let's move on. All right, this is the next one. It's by Indigo. It's called No Heaven. That sounds really interesting. Let's have a listen. Oh, it's a SoundCloud link.
Something tells me that there is no heaven.
The first thing that I listen is the bass again. So the bass sounds really good, but he added a reverb, like a very, very strong reverb on the bass. Now, it's usually, you can add reverb on the bass, especially if it's something like a room reverb. But what this person did is he added quite a bit of reverb that really spaced the bass. And I think it can work in certain situations, but I feel like in this situation, it kind of detracts from the entire song. I think just having the bass, bum, 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 it's a really cool start, right? I feel like it's already catchy before I even got into it. It has a funk feel to it. Yeah, so the other thing that I'd like to mention specifically with the reverb is that even though, like, okay, so he added a lot of reverb to the bass, but he also added a lot of reverb to everything else. And reverb is also very difficult to get right. It's kind of like bass. Use it in the right amounts. So he's used a lot of reverbs on the vocals and some of the other instruments, especially with the mid to high range instruments, which is good. You can use it. You can have like the soundscape of things. But unfortunately, because he added a lot of reverb on the bass and he didn't really compress the bass well, it just like sits in the forefront. It's like ba ba ba, and it's like almost too punchy, you know. But because there's also reverb, it's just everything is reverb, and it makes your mix sound washed out. So having the bass to ground your mix and to have that singular point where everything is just like having your ears vibrate and you're just going with the song, that's what you kind of want. But he's kind of put everything 2 meters back into the mix, and now everything feels here. But it's also like very loud, but it's there. So it's kind of very confusing to the brain, you know?
I can't sleep, I think too much for me to stand tall.
What I need to compliment is he has a very catchy, very catchy style here. This song is really catchy, and I think it can really fit. Like, it has a good flow. It has an ebb and flow. You know, the dynamics of this, not the dynamics, but the tension and release of the song is really like bum 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 ba, bum 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 ba. It has like a good ebb and flow in the song, and it really like entices you to listen more. So if he just, or he or she just focuses on mixing that and just refining how he uses reverb, he or she uses reverb, go for it. Like, you're on your way. Like, seriously, this is really catchy.
Tryna keep a good posture, but I always fall.
This is really good. If those issues weren't there, I would listen to your music. Keep learning. You're gonna go far. All right. The next one is Utka. I don't know how to pronounce that, but Utka by X, or X by Utka. Utka. Let's listen. Okay, I think this is really solid. It's not too bad. I mean, the thing that really so it's obviously kind of like a remix on a previous thing. They wanna make me feel like I'm the only one in the world. That's great. I like that he kind of samples that into his mix, and it really fits well with the hip hop style. But the thing that kind of throws me off is the fact that his vocals, although good, well, relatively good, it has a bit too much reverb and can create a bit more control with that, as well as the kick drum. The kick drum is I think maybe a little bit too punchy for this, but overall I think this is solid work. I think if you just practiced a bit more, made more songs, you're well on your way to becoming a good artist. Good luck. Let's see, next one. This is Mason to Cut. Mason to Cut, and the song is called Closer. Ooh, oh, couldn't find track. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's go on. Yexandrialm, Flavor. There's a lot of high notes in this song that really stick out. So kind of pushing those high notes down to make it fit more into the mix might be a good idea, as well as adding a bit of level control to some of the elements. But I think the structural idea is sound, although you kind of go in hard, full and hard. There's no build-up, there's no anticipation. It's just blah, blah, blah. I would say have some sort of introduction to the feel to kind of make the listener feel like, okay, what's gonna happen next, and then build it up, and then go in with your idea. So far, it's not too bad. It's relatively solid work, but I think there's a bit of work to be done. Adding some compression, glue compression, maybe reducing some of the reverb effects, and what kind of reverb you use is also important. There's also instances where you can actually either tune or EQ your reverbs specifically. Like if you have a reverb, like do a reverb send. A lot of people make the mistake of just adding the reverb directly to the track rather than creating a send to a different reverb track and then EQing it from there. That is a really helpful tip. Create sends. Sends are extremely useful to creating a clean mix. All right, let's go to the next one. One last one, and then we're done. Sufo Lives. Sufo. I don't know how to say that. Sufo Lives. I have the hiccups for some reason. I was there when nobody was. Let's have a listen. I don't even need to listen more than half a second to hear the immediate mistake of the bass. Bass is slightly like a lot reverby. It's too in the center, like not in the center, but it's too at the forefront of the mix, and it's kind of like boo. It just pushes you back, and it's like at the start of the song, it doesn't really give you any time for anticipation or waiting to hear what's next. Oops, clicked on the wrong thing.
Wake up in the middle of the night.
High notes can be EQ'd a bit down, it can be compressed a bit more. Using multiband compressors saved my life. So use multiband compressors. Like just regular compressors are cool, but multiband compressors can make you dial in to the low, mid, and high range frequencies and compress them individually and add different inputs and outputs for each one. And those really help. If you're using Ableton does a lot of that already automatically. They have presets that are really useful, and there's like minimal effort that you can put in and get relatively good results. So try to use that.
Tears drip down while I'm gripping on my nine in my mind.
The bass is weird because like it's super loud, but it's not present. It's like he added a lot of reverb to the bass, but it's like it's not present in the mix. It's not centered in the middle with like a good punchy feel to kind of ground the mix. It's really spaced out and maybe too wide. I'm not really sure what's happening with this bass.
Been dead for a very long time, and no point in just trying to save me tonight.
It kind of reminds me of Joji and what he does with his mixes, but this is too much, right? So Joji has this same kind of feel to his basses, but it's more grounded and centered. So maybe less reverb, maybe a bit of compression, maybe EQ the bass as well. I think the bass kind of reaches somewhere in the mid ranges, and you don't really want that, especially if your other instruments are also in the mid ranges. So kind of just EQ that down, or maybe add a filter.
When you ride the high on the way till you die, open wide with your eyes.
I do like the idea of having the snaps kind of in the background. It's kind of washed out, like it's kind of there, you know, it's not here. I really like that. I think, yeah, use that, but EQ and compress those snaps just a bit, like just a bit.
Don't show your dumb eyes. Real recognize real when the time gone right. Never spill, just chill when the residue feel. Never spill, just chill when the residue.
Yeah, high notes, like if you're looking at your spectrum graph, I'm gonna just try to do it from that side. So your spectrum graph is probably there, right? Ba-da-da-da-da. Okay, so this is post common, and honestly, I think I'm a bit wrong in this case. I do think that the very, very high notes are maybe a little bit loud, but really listening to it again and looking at the spectrum graph, I think I may have been mistaken. So maybe disregard this just a little bit, but yeah, although I may be a bit wrong here, I think it is still important to have a look at those graphs and really tune the high notes so that it doesn't go to the piercing level. Maybe the high notes here you can just dip down, use an EQ, especially in your master, but try to do that in the mix as well, because the mix is the bass line. So try to just dip the high notes a bit down, because it's very, very piercing to your ear. You don't really want that, especially with the vocals, the snaps, and like everything else.
When the residue feel, never spill, just chill when the residue feel. And I'm back in this bitch and I like it where you.
Yeah, so you have snaps, but you also have snares that hit that, and you also have what do you have else? Yeah, so try to focus on that. The mix is a bit washed out, but it's also very very leaned towards the high notes. Try not to do that. The high notes, I struggle with that myself. It's really it is a struggle to make sure that your high notes aren't piercing, because you listen to your own music for like a solid 40 hours, and then after a while you get used to it. But when someone else listens to that, you really want to dip those and kind of just muffle the high notes a bit. But yeah, overall, I think the structure is really good. This is the best structure I've heard so far, although I would like some build-up to the song, but this is really good. Keep on creating. You will go far, I am sure. So this has been Sufo Lives. Sufo Lives. I have no idea how to say that. Thank you all so much for watching and staying tuned. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye. Stay curious, stay creative.
I'm just a boy with hellfire as I